Yes, guys, I'm Sal. Welcome to Cardiff City World, and this is the Tactical Showdown. This is the series where we go deep, not just into the teams, not just into the managers. We look at the philosophies, the tactics, the details that decide games. Today is a proper footballing contrast. It's Brian Barry Murphy, his structured, possession-based rotations, high tempo, young Cardiff City side against Lee Grant's Huddersfield Town. An absolute chaos team, but an organised chaos. Scoring lots of goals, conceding lots of goals, and capable of beating anyone or losing to anyone on their day. This is not your normal preview. This is not a traditional 11v11 preview. That's separate. That was earlier today. This is purely BBM versus Grant, the tactical chess match. Let's get into it. Right, quick. Important context. Where are both squads with regards to injuries going into the weekend? So Ruben Colwell is out. He's had his surgery. Not going to be back until the new year. There's a big blow for Cardiff City. Joel Colwell played on Tuesday. Seems to be up and running after a gash to the knee. Ollie Tanner on course to return towards the end of December. Eli King likely out for the season. And I forgot his name, Gabriel Osho out with a dislocated toe. Huddersfield, not too many injuries. There's a few knocks. One of the centre-backs got a minor knock. Probably some rotation at full-back due to fatigue. But generally speaking, they'll be there or thereabouts. Because this team score heavily and concede heavily, you'd expect rotation. Because the defence, they're still trying to find the right pieces to keep clean sheets. But let's be absolutely clear about this from the start. Huddersfield this season are not a defensive sit back and grind results team out. They're not a deep block. They're not cautious. They are almost the exact opposite. They're open, they're brave, they play expansive football. And that means two things. They score a lot of goals, lots of them, and they concede a lot of goals, lots of them. They are the definition of high-event football team. They are interesting to watch. Some matches, they look electric going forward. Some matches, they collapse defensively. And that's why their results have been a bit up and down. Not because they struggle to create chances, but because they can't control games defensively so far. Tactically, what does it mean? Well, Lee Grant encourages vertical passing, quick transitions, midfield runners breaking lines, one striker dropping in, one behind. Wingers very aggressive, fullbacks very high. Spurs like build up at time, but without the defensive balance, I guess. Their defensive line, is very high, often too high, which causes them problems. But those distances allow them to attack in numbers, and the distances between each player become enormous when they lose the ball, and that creates a perfect storm for the opposition. They are brilliant going forward, so dangerous, and they all create chances, but vulnerable going the other way. And that's exactly the kind of team that BBM does enjoy facing, because he likes to have the ball, he likes to play attacking football. And when you flip it to Cardiff, look, BBM City are becoming one of the clearest tactical identities in the league. Teams know what Cardiff are going to do. It's up to Cardiff to find the tempo and the ability to mean that it doesn't matter if you know what we're going to do, you can't stop us. He wants 1-2 touch, high speed build up, relentless movement, especially between the lines, possession used as a weapon to move teams around, not decoration and not just possession for the sake of it. He wants compact space in between the midfield and the back line to stop transitions, but he also wants an aggressive counter press, wide overloads through the fullbacks, either overlapping, inverting or underlapping depending on the situation. But young players are trusted in high stress situations. Fast starts. Cardiff City need to have a fast start this weekend. That could be the key to this game. Now, the loss of Ruben Colwell does hurt the pressing structure. However, last Saturday, the first real game without him, they looked intensely drilled, really well drilled in their pressing. It was one after another, filling the spaces, blocking the passing lanes. It was very well drilled. Now, will Brian Barry Murphy go with the same 11? I'm not so sure, but he might. He does like a little rotation and the chop and a change. but his intensity, Ruben's intensity normally sets the tone. So they'll be looking for somebody to set the tempo on Saturday. Cardiff will remain a side that want to, with or without Ruben Colwell, they're going to want to control territory. They're going to want the ball. They will want to dictate the rhythm, and they'll want to force the opposition into mistakes through pressure rather than dropping off. This is not a low possession counter-attacking Cardiff that we've seen years before. This is a team which is trying to play championship level football in League One and get there at the first attempt. When you look at manager v manager and you look at it tactically, this matchup is really fascinating because BBM and Grant almost sit at opposite ends of the spectrum in some ways. Lee Grant loves the chaos of it. He likes getting the bodies forward. He encourages transitions. He wants open games. He trusts his strikers to finish. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, that leaves chances for the opposition to score goals. He prioritises attacking freedom over defensive solidity. He will always push extra players forward. They will risk exposing the defence to get those players forward. BBM, whilst he loves rotations and he loves runners off the ball, third man runs in behind, he also loves the structure of his team. You know, sometimes that'll be a 2-3-5. Sometimes that'll be more like a 3-2-5. It just depends on the situation, the game. If the team's play, the opposition's in a low block. But what he does want is he loves patterns. He loves control of the football. He wants predictable, repeatable movements by his players so that they can constantly interchange and move the ball quick. He wants to keep his defensive distances tight, which Cardiff, when they haven't done that, have been exposed in the transition, largely when Ryan Wintle hasn't been in the team, because Ryan Wintle is a vital cog in defending the transition. He wants to use the ball to manipulate opponents into errors. He wants to move teams around, move them left, and then switch it to the right and isolate the fullback. When you look at the showdown and the summary of it, Lee Grant wants end-to-end basketball match. Brian Barry Murphy wants a tactical chess match, but played at pace. This game often becomes a question of who's controlling the rhythm. If this match becomes frantic, Huddersfield are going to thrive. If the match becomes a bit more structured and the ball's zipping about, I think Cardiff will thrive. It will suit Huddersfield a little bit defensively if Cardiff are slow in possession. But when you look at it, and when you talk about Cardiff and how they can exploit Huddersfield concede a lot of goals. You can't get away from that. Huddersfield's defensive line is often far too high. Lee Grant likes his men to push up aggressively. He likes his defenders to press and to push and to go in tight. But these aren't elite athletes. These are League One defenders. They do lose the flight of the ball. They do struggle to recover the space behind them with pace. So Cardiff can get in behind. It's perfect for the likes of Yusuf Salic. If he can be elusive like he was in the first half on Saturday and not get involved in the physical battles that he previously was getting involved in, and he did it last week for the first half. If he does that and he's looking to get in the spaces, I believe this is the game for him where he could get a couple. Isaac Davis, the same. On the transition, there will be acres for him to run into on that left-hand side if he comes on, if he starts, should I say. Callum Robinson did a good job in the number 10 last week. Will we go with that again, with him as the skipper? I'm not so sure we'll go with the same 11, but I do think Callum Robinson likely will keep his place in that number 10 role. Maybe they give Salic a rest and push Robinson up. I think Keane Ashford will keep his place, even though he played in midweek. He's been very, very good since he came back into the side. Huddersfield's midfield spacing becomes massive. When they attack, the 6 will sit, but the 8s go, the wingers go, the fullbacks go. This is a team which leaves acres of space behind their midfield, and this is where an Alex Robertson and Joel Colwell could be in dreamland in terms of the transition. You get the ball, you've got runners, you've got space to play the ball into, turn, drive, break lines and launch attacks without pressure. But make no mistake, whilst Cardiff can counter-press and they can suffocate Huddersfield, and I think that's going to be a big weapon. Huddersfield hate being pressed in those areas. They like to get the ball up to the striker. If they turn the ball over cheaply, Cardiff have to exploit it before they get people back in position. BBM likes his fullbacks high. He likes his wingers with paint on the boots where they're so wide. Huddersfield like to go forward too. So the defensive aspect of it, Isaac Davis, Kean Ashford, Chris Willock, Kellyman, whoever's wide, they need to do their defensive work. They cannot afford to leave Matty Angel or Capaccio or Bagan 2v1'd. So it's going to be a tactical chess match, one way or another. Set pieces for Huddersfield will be massive. They concede a lot from set pieces, but they also score a couple. Free headers, second balls, poor defensive organisation will be the downfall for either team. Cardiff aren't a massive team in terms of height, but you can get and exploit set pieces by your movement off the ball, the delivery when it comes in. Kellyman's delivery has been pretty good from corners. Joel Bagan's delivery has been excellent. Will Fish is always a threat from corners. Exploit it. Where do Cardiff need to be careful? And this is what I want to be clear about. It's not going to be all one-way traffic. Huddersfield are not a soft touch. They're big, they're physical, and they have genuine, real threats. Their forwards are dangerous in the transition. And if Cardiff lose the ball with their fullbacks high and Huddersfield go immediately, you could end up with a numerical advantage for Huddersfield, and they will exploit it. As I've said many times, they score goals. Huddersfield will try and overload the half spaces between the midfield and the attack. One winger might look to go inside while the other stays wide. The eights will push up. The striker will drop in to create a space for the runners. They'll create little triangles in the pockets of space and then get it in behind. That is the aim always, is to get in behind you. If BBM's got two young fullbacks, if he goes with Capaccio, mistakes can happen. So Capaccio will need to utilise his recovery speed to get back. Cardiff sometimes can get a bit confident at home and they commit a lot of players forward, and then they get exploited or they get broke on. Happened on Tuesday. We had the ball on the left wing and suddenly we were 1-0 down. We need to start the game really, really well. Don't overcommit, but be aggressive. Be defensively solid on Saturday is the key, because Cardiff will have chances. Huddersfield will give them chances. Cardiff will create chances. Huddersfield will create chances. Huddersfield will punish you if you leave them the opportunity to do so. Yes, without Ruben Colwell, the press is not as good as it was. But if it's as structured and well drilled as it was last weekend, that can be a massive tool for Cardiff. But it can also allow, or the difference in intensity of that press without Colwell can allow Huddersfield to skip the lines, to attack Cardiff before the shape is settled and create those overloads in the areas where they want them. Huddersfield won't be afraid to shoot. They won't be afraid to shoot from long distance in and around the box. Cardiff need to be aware to it, get bodies in the way and defend properly. This is not a game where you switch off when the ball goes out of play. This is a game where you will need to be fully focused and concentrated for 90 minutes. Cardiff need to close that ball aggressively, probably even more than usual when they're defending their own third. How the match plays out is anyone's guess. I don't think it's going to be boring, I gotta be honest. One scenario I could kind of see is the BBM game. Cardiff dominate the ball. They keep Huddersfield relatively pinned back. Huddersfield are restricted to just counter-attacking, getting a bit frustrated, and Cardiff get a comfortable sort of 2-0, 3-1 victory. The Grants, if it goes in Lee Grant's sort of way, City get dragged into a basketball match, end-to-end transitions, like space just everywhere, and Huddersfield will score at least 2 goals then, and then it just becomes a game of who takes the chances, and it could be like 3-2, 4-3, it could be absolute pandemonium. And then you've got like a I guess, the third scenario, where BBM controls the first half, Huddersfield have little purple patches in between, Cardiff hope their quality and structure and well-drilled nature of their press gets them a late win. They all feel like realistic scenarios. For me, it's almost impossible to predict, because I've seen teams come to Cardiff over the last few years and they haven't won a game for 5-6 games, and they come down here and they look like Real Madrid. Huddersfield look like a team that Cardiff City can really exploit and get at. But you watch tomorrow, they will give a defensive masterclass, keep a clean sheet and won't concede any chances. It's just the way it seems to work with City. But this is a new Cardiff City, and it's tomorrow. It's Brian Barry Murphy versus Lee Grant. It's the well-drilled Brian Barry Murphy team versus the organised chaos of Lee Grant. Control of possession versus momentum in transition. Patterns and rotations versus instinct and runners. Huddersfield can absolutely score in this game. They may score more than one. Cardiff have to be clinical. But Huddersfield will also probably concede, or at least concede chances. It is absolutely fundamental that City take their chances, especially early in the game. If there's one manager in this division who I think can exploit the way that Lee Grant likes to play, it's probably Brian Barry Murphy. If the tempo's right for Cardiff City and they play at speed. Because for Cardiff, the key messages have got to be simple. Keep the tempo fast. Stay compact when out of possession. Don't get dragged into end-to-end basketball match. Exploit the space in behind Huddersfield's defence and defend transitions properly. You do that, you win the game. Turn it into frenetic madness and it's anyone's. Huddersfield will smell blood and it could end up a cricket score. But yeah, that's your tactical showdown for this week. Full preview dropped earlier on. Tomorrow we've got 3 big questions about the game just before it kicks off tomorrow morning. So let us know in the comments. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Can you see a way that Cardiff can exploit Huddersfield? Do you think Huddersfield will be too strong for Cardiff? Too experienced? It's going to be a genuine tactical war as always. It's League One football. It's going to be physical. It's going to be fast. One thing's for sure. It ain't going to be boring. Keep the faith, my friends. And I'll see you at the game. Nice one.